Today's episode is Shields Up.
Shields up.
Or Curse You Friggin' Deer, because we're finally going to make the deer stop eating our garden.
Darn deer.
Them darn deer. And look, we got a sizzle reel. It is now May at Fat Squirrel Farm, and we need to create a durable fence. Do it fast. The deer are eating my garden already. They have eaten all the leaves off of the apple trees and all the buds. And we also want to do it cheap. If you see a problem with these three goals, you are wiser than we were.
Yes. So the original plan was to buy metal fence posting that you would see in a typical chain link fence. Try to get fence posts that were tall enough that we could then strap wooden posts one by around the metal post so that the actual fence post could be 8 foot tall, right?
But the wooden, 8 foot tall, but the wooden parts would not touch the ground. If we were to get treated posts and sink them in the ground and do quickcrete on them, they would last longer than the posts that we had before, but it would be a much bigger pain when we needed to change the fence out, because we would have had to remove the rotted fence posts and the giant lump of cement that they were in and dig those out and then put in new ones.
But this was not going to be fast.
No, you have to dig the hole.
You have to dig the hole, which
And
I was not looking forward to.
no, and especially our dirt is just clay.
Yes.
It's hard clay. Or it's sand, which is weirdly equally hard to dig because it just keeps falling back back in. So it would have met durable, it would have met cheap-ish, but it would not have been fast. And we wanted this done in April. It was already May. The deer literally ate all of the buds off of our apple trees, and all of the leaves. They had leaves above where the deer could eat. So we have one apple this year. Out of 5 apple trees, we got one apple.
Yeah. So I was building fences with my buddy, and we were building picket fences. He was using these kinds of posts from Postmaster. And as you can see, they are not put into a hole that has been dug. They are actually driven into the ground using a post driver that runs on gasoline.
So if you've ever used T-posts in your garden, it's like a T-post on steroids, except without the triangle flange at the bottom.
Right.
So it is literally the same shape as a T-post, but that is much bigger and wider and heftier, and then it's got these holes all down the side so that you can directly connect metal.
Cross bracing.
Well, and any decorative wood that you wanted on there, which one of our big problems was trying to figure out how to strap the wood to to the poles, because they're round poles and we didn't want it to slide down anyway. So we didn't these made no digging holes, no pouring cement. They don't rot. We did have to dig one hole because we tried to drill a post directly through a tree root.
Yeah.
So Dad did that. But we made a new plan. The new plan was to buy the Postmaster posts, which his buddy was very nice to sell us at wholesale pricing, because let me tell you, Postmaster posts are not cheap.
Nope.
Which makes sense. I mean, in terms of longevity, that fence can go in fast and then stay there for definitely more than my lifetime.
Yeah, there's a reason why they are priced where they are priced.
Yeah. So we're going to drive it into the ground with a diesel gas-powered fence pounder. Okay. I don't know. It smelled bad.
It did
That's
smell
what
bad.
I remember. And then we're going to attach the wooden fence to the fence posts. And the fence will still not touch the ground. This kind of got rid of that do-it-cheap part.
It did.
It was not cheap. And it came out of the budget for our camper later. Here you can see how fast it is. This is Kaylin driving a post into the ground. There was a whole bunch of setting up and making sure it was steady before this.
Well, steady, and that the post was level. You don't want to just go driving things into the ground and having them stick out in all kinds of directions.
It was way faster. How long did it take you guys to get, a day?
We ended up getting it done in an afternoon, and that is after a bunch of very frustrating things that happened in the morning.
The hardest part was that big root, which Kaylin chopped at too. We didn't just make our father do all that work. So when we designed the fence, we were at least designing with speed and money in mind, and we had really thought that would work out cheaper than it did or faster than it did, we had to sacrifice one for the other. You can't have all three of those things. It's like a universal rule of making or buying anything, which we both know but chose to ignore. When we were designing it to save some time and money, the first thing we did was we made sure that we had metal posts which are permanent. I mean, we're planning on living here definitely until our parents die. That's grim, but it's true. And I wouldn't mind living here until I die and just handing it on to the next generation. So we are looking at work we are going to do or our children aren't going to have to do. We wanted to do the metal posts because they will last for many generations. And if we just strapped the wood to the posts, when the time came, you would only have to change out the wood parts, so no hole digging. It'd be pretty cheap and quick. So that reduces the chance of rotting, and it also meant that we could use untreated wood because we were going to paint it anyway. So we could make sure that that part of it was durable but cheaper. Okay, so then the more important things we did was, like, we made the posts 8 feet apart and the fence 8 feet tall, because then we could use dimensional 8-foot lumber
and not have to
we didn't have to
cut
do any
everything
cutting,
down.
which really made a big difference. And then because the metal posts provided all that structural support, we could use 1x lumber for the uprights.
Yep.
We still needed to use 2x4 for
The bracing.
otherwise it would have sagged. Here is the plan. The fence that Kaylin made on the back of a paper bag. It's 8 feet tall. The posts are 8 feet apart on center. The horizontal pieces are made from 8 foot long 2x4, and the vertical pieces are made from 8 foot long 1x4. We just purchased all of those. We didn't have to do any cutting or treating, or we took some stickers off.
Well, not even that. Like, as I was painting, I just painted over
the
stickers.
stickers. Anyway, so what we had to do was paint them. And we did arrange this process as well to make it more time efficient. So instead of putting up the fence and then painting it,
Yes.
we laid all the pieces down, and Kaylin painted them using this big roller with this giant bucket of fence and barn paint. And you did 2 coats?
Yes. So all of the wooden pieces that are on the fence have been coated twice. This is the cross bracing.
You put up the cross bracing first, or at least the first 3 parts of cross bracing. There will be a 4th one once we get the top part.
And when building a picket fence, this is actually how you begin.
So the metal posts came out to about 6 feet tall. So the wooden uprights are 8 feet tall, making the fence like 2 feet taller than what you see here. We didn't film Kaylin doing any of those parts, so we're just describing it to you. Pretend. And then the top parts, he made a little miscalculation, so he ended up having to zip tie them together. We also forgot to film Dad stapling up the deer netting, but Dad did that part. We did not do that part. That was Dad. Thank you, Dad.
Very graciously.
What was left was the gate, because while we had a very nice fence, it still had a giant 16-foot wide opening in it. So the gate we designed so that we would be able to drive Dad's big truck right down the center of the garden so that we can go get compost from the city, which is $15 for a pickup bed full of it, which is amazing. And then we could just drive it straight down the middle and shovel it directly off of it, because we've been having to park it outside the fence and wheelbarrow it in. But then we also needed to be able to get in on an everyday basis without opening a 16-foot wide. I mean, it came out to 10-foot wide fence. That's just crazy. So Kaylin made 2 doors, and the first one was kind of 8 feet by 8 feet and looks like a barn door, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what you see here, like, you can see the structure underneath, and then the solid part in the middle, and then that structure underneath is mirrored on the top of it to hold it all together. And then he made a door that was maybe like 6 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah.
But this door had a door in it.
Yes, a door with a door.
It's a door with a door. You see our daughter here sitting in the door.
Helping to paint.
Yeah. So then Kaylin got to dig holes for the gate posts. These were treated lumber. We will eventually have to replace these. Kaylin dug really deep holes for great big gate posts.
They were 4 inches by 6 inches by 12 feet, I think.
Yeah.
12-foot long posts. Yeah.
So they are 8 feet of them stick up out of the ground. They are sunk 4 feet into the ground. Some of that's to get below the frost line.
Yeah, but these were going to be extremely heavy doors.
Yeah, you know, when in doubt, overbuild.
Yeah.
Here, we have Kaylin mounting the door. We just didn't show this. I had a migraine.
You did have a migraine.
During the mounting of this door, so I was not there to film it, but him and Dad mounted that door. So here Kalen is measuring the distances between the hinges on this door so he can match them on the other door. It's kind of like knitting a sock. You make the first one, and then you spend a lot of time trying to make the second one like the first one.
Yep, so I'm drilling holes into the post.
Because the hardware, it's a giant screw, giant hardware for giant doors. Man.
It's the pieces that the brackets are going to hinge onto.
So he did that all the way down the door, and this is what's going to go into it, is these great big, it looks like a giant screw. And you put them in like this. Kalen inserted them and twisted by hand first. So like he's already drilled holes, but then they have to screw in farther. And then he uses the hinge strap,
yeah,
to tighten it all the way in. It's really handy when your hardware and your tools are the same thing.
Yeah.
Pardon the tilting. I'm holding a dog and a child right now, but here's Kalen moving the second door all on his own. We offered to help.
No, I like doing things alone.
Yeah. And then you can see a child's head. We try and make sure you don't see our kids' faces. We can't pretend they just aren't there. They're pretty much here through all of this. Kalen put the hardware onto the door.
Yep, the hinge straps.
The hinge straps, okay. And we'll link to all of these items. Not that you need to go get them and do this, but if you're like, oh, that's what it's called, finally, you can look it up. We got everything from Menards. They definitely are not affiliate partners.
What am I doing here?
You are trying to get the door upright to get it over here. You messed around for a while.
Yeah.
And then you put it over here. This is when you realize that because the doors overlap, they don't have like an overlapping flange so that they're mounted at exactly the same point. One of them is mounted farther forward than the other one. And you realize that meant that you had to kind of insert things in different places.
Yeah.
Here's Kalen. I said, do you need help? And he said, I got it. And he was going to use this log to set the hinges. You see, Dad saw what was going on, and he didn't ask if Kalen needed help. He just did it. And they'd already done this process on the other side, presumably more awkwardly, because it was a bigger door.
The idea is to get the first strap secured to the door, and then to hang the door, and then to use a level to level the door while you are attaching the remaining straps.
There's only one strap on here that they had to get hinged on. It kind of looks like maybe they just hung the whole door and you're done. But Kalen then did more stuff that we just don't show because it was really boring and I got tired.
Oh, and here I am hanging the door within the door.
He hung this just like you would hang any door.
Yep.
If you want to learn how to hang a door, I suggest you talk to someone on YouTube who has made a better tutorial.
Yeah.
Now, you may notice that there is no handle in this door. He made something that worked out of some dowels. And by drilling some holes.
So a lot of the way that I do my project I do a project as far as I'm able to envision it. And then I complete that portion and I see what I have afterwards. And then I make a plan for the next step of the project. Largely because a lot of this stuff is the first time that we're doing any of it.
So the doors wanted to hang apart. You can't see it, but he put some eye hooks on here. They all tore out. And the eye hooks were holding the door together. And it is now held together with a bunch of clamps. But it looks really nice. And it works really well. And no deer have gotten in my garden since.
So, shields up.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Curse you friggin' deer.